The Central Bank of Nigeria and Aliko Dangote-led private sector initiative called the Nigeria Private Sector Coalition Against COVID-19 was set up to mobilize funds from the private sector. Together, the coalition, comprising captains of industries as well as other well-meaning Nigerians, have contributed over 15 billion naira as relief fund to combat the COVID-19 pandemic in the country.
Who would have thought that the role of Nigeria's apex bank would one day include fighting a global health crisis? But yes, the bank of last resort and financial advisor to the federal government is playing a key role in strengthening Nigeria's response to COVID-19, of course by mobilizing huge funds from the profitable business entities. Clearly, with the drastic drop in crude oil prices due to the impact of COVID-19, relying solely on the country's external reserves may not be a viable option, which is why the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria solicits assistance from the private sector to join forces with the federal government and step up the fight against coronavirus in Nigeria. He announces a private sector initiative called the Nigerian Private Sector Coalition Against COVID-19, CACOVID, with an initial funding committee members tasked with at least 1 billion naira donation each.
The objectives of the coalition are: 1. Mobilize private sector thought leadership. 2. Mobilize private sector resources. 3. Increase general public awareness and education and buy-in. 4. Provide direct support to private and public health care's ability to respond to the crisis. And 5. Support federal government's effort. The steering committee, according to consensus by the stakeholders in the private sector, will be chaired by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Mr. Boss Mustafa, who currently chairs the Federal Government Committee on COVID-19. 2. Funding Committee. This committee will be responsible for the initial funding of this effort. Membership comprise the Central Bank of Nigeria, Aliko Dangote, Herbert Wigwe, Jim Ovia, Tony Elumelu, Shegun Agbaje, Abdul Samad Rabiu, and Mr. Femi Otedola. Each member of this committee is expected to contribute at least 1 billion naira to this effort.
That call to duty was responded to, and as of April the 1st, the private sector initiative led by the Central Bank and the president of the Aliko Dangote Group, Mr. Aliko Dangote, alongside 35 other donors, contributed over 15 billion naira for the cause. The leadership of the Central Bank commends the swift response of the coalition of public-spirited individuals and corporate bodies and asked for more support to overcome the COVID-19 pandemic in the country. The aim of the coalition is to see Nigeria beat the coronavirus disease by making funds available for much-needed resources if the government and health personnel in the country are to put up a good fight against the COVID-19 pandemic.
You know, it seems one of the positive things that may be coming out of this coronavirus crisis is the rise in social consciousness. For some organizations, giving back to society is not a seasonal event. It's in fact part of their corporate social responsibility initiative. That's the case with the chairman and vice chairman of Fanfa Oil Limited, Modupe and Folorunsho Alakija, who have made a donation of 1 billion naira to support the government's efforts in tackling the coronavirus outbreak. According to them, the funds will go to key players in the battle against the virus, including the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, Lagos State Government, the Africa Center of Excellence for Genomics of Infectious Diseases, and medical workers in the front line in Lagos and Abuja. In Indeed, the response of private companies and prominent Nigerians in this difficult time is commendable. The Mike Adenuga Foundation is one of the organizations that is assisting the government at both national and state level with a donation of 1.5 billion naira. The foundation says 1 billion naira will go to the Central Bank of Nigeria, while 500 million naira will go to Lagos State government. The executive vice chairman of Globacom, Mrs. Bella Disu, presented